Hmm. I think it's just from the live stream.
First.
Steam charts is meh. They do fudge their numbers. I don't think they try to inflate them. It's just they're off.
We're removing the requirement to get 5 wins or 50.
Let's see. Overwatch Competitive. I want to fucking listen to a broadcaster. Do they just not have?
Thank you, Zoe. Mauga is awesome. And the world.
Why is this just not on their channel? Overwatch YouTube. Mauga. Surfer Bro, apparently that does a skilled tactician and a smart guy. Running into battle with 2 Gatling guns attached to his arms. But they said in the dev notes that he's a smart guy and a tactician, a skilled tactician.
Weekend will be so much fun. But Overwatch has another thing happening here at Blizzcon. Earlier this week, we launched a new limited-time game mode and special skins as part of an exciting collaboration with Le Sserafim, one of the biggest K-pop groups in the world.
That's the Me Too aimed at KDA.
As well as check out their brand new music video.
They're just like copying the playbook from
And in honor of this collaboration, Le Sserafim will take the stage and perform in the arena tomorrow after the community night ends around 6 p.m. Pacific.
I literally fucking said this. Keller, are you watching my fucking blog? My Twitter? You're watching my blog a day ago. Are you watching my blog? My Twitter? Are you watching my Twitter? Are you watching my Twitter, Keller? You totally are. I actually immediately faulted them for launching the case serum, they launched it like at 10 p.m. on a night, not at Blizzard, not at Overwatch World Cup, which it's about, right? Like everything big, you tie in together, so it makes it bigger, right? But they didn't fucking actually have them at the Overwatch World Cup. Like they should have been there in the opening ceremony to introduce their song for Overwatch, and they didn't. Like something League of Legends would do, just like a massive brain fart. The song from latest Serum or whatever that is, the League of Legends wannabe group crossover was like a week ago. Like it made no sense. A week ago or maybe a week and a half ago. It made no sense. Like they should have done that at the opening ceremony for Overwatch, right? And they didn't do that.
Working on partnerships like this, or what we did with One Punch Man.
Only women and Asians likes K-pop. That's definitely wrong. Big with younger generations. I don't mind K-pop. Over J-pop? I don't know why they picked K-pop over J-pop. That's kind of a weird one too.
Through the unique style of Overwatch. And next year we have even more.
They could have been more controversial by doing J-pop instead of K-pop.
Sadly, we can't reveal what those are all just yet. But maybe there are some other things coming in 2024 that we could give you a hint about. The Overwatch team has never had such clarity of vision when it comes to the future.
I'm pretty sure after the PvE fuck up earlier this year, some executives lit a fire under their ass. They're like, yeah, you gotta fucking up your numbers here. We're gonna fire you all and can the project.
We are creating
or just put it on a back burner.
PvP game mode, Clash. In this new
So Clash, as far as I know, it just looks like push with points on it. So, well, you'll see.
The center point starts as the first objective, and the teams battle back and forth over the map pushing into enemy
So push is
territory,
where you push a robot
defending
over a
the
line,
field.
right? It's like payload only goes
Team
back and
captures
forth,
all 5
which is
points,
actually really annoying.
reaches the maximum
Good morning, Idwin.
they win.
It's really, really annoying. It's a lot of time where you just spend pushing the robot rather than actually fighting, or 2CP is basically all fighting.
Overwatch's first BlizzCon.
But in this case, it's basically, instead of having a robot, you got a bunch of points along the line. It's the same thing. They just basically replace the robot with points.
Rebirth and rejuvenation.
Might play out differently, though, because points are more static.
The original Overwatch maps.
You don't have to spend time pushing the robot, you can just go to the next point. You're still going to be running around, so.
Within the Clash mode, we are returning to the home of the Shimada clan.
They could just make the robot move faster.
Hanaoka. Additionally, we are working on overhauls to some of our most important in-game systems. Overwatch is a highly competitive game, and in early 20...
And earlier this year, they were still on track to make a PvE experience for their highly competitive esports shooter. Well, esports shooter. Hey, that's what the entire fucking game's about. Congratulations. Yeah, they figured it out. I don't know what it took. Yeah, very weird. People said it was Kaplan's fault, right? Like Jeff Kaplan, because he left and he obviously started this. I don't think so. I think he saw what people were doing. He couldn't control the team and he just fucking left. And then they just fucking... They sank that ship. Yeah, it's just like fucking 3 years of just from... basically when they stopped updating Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, and they added almost nothing to it in a shitty PvE mode that people don't play. Yeah, because you only play it once, it's like a scenario. You only play it once, and then there's zero replayability. It's like they kind of tried to do Man vs. Machine, only they did it a lot worse, because Man vs. Machine actually had some replayability. Man vs. Machine is for Team Fortress 2, mind you. In Overwatch, there is zero replayability to the game modes. To PvE game modes.
Version of our competitive system with all new competitive rewards. And with seasons, one of the team's goals has been to create themes that speak...
A lot of the stuff that they're doing right now, though, is directed at Outcry, not so much at actually fixing stuff in the game. Like, the latest patch was supposed to address healing issues, and it didn't. Like, it's supposed to address how much healing healers do, and it did not. The only thing it really directly influenced is Alari now does less damage because her shot is not it had a width to the beam, which we covered immediately when she launched because I immediately saw it. I posted it on Twitter too. Other people didn't figure it out for probably 3 weeks afterwards, despite the fact that I posted it in a bunch of different spots. Like 3 weeks after, and then I saw, hey guys, guess what? Alari has a beam. I found it on Reddit. Alari has a width to her beam, got a 1,300 upvotes or something like that. I was like, yeah, I mentioned that weeks ago. Always ahead of the curve, guys. Yeah.
Next year, you'll experience Eldritch Horror, Egyptian mythology, witches, and even a mirror universe where heroes become
PvE,
villains
not...
and villains.
If you want to do PvE for Overwatch, you had to basically have another company do it and tack it onto the game, not the main company.
Without its heroes. Mauga is the 39th hero in Overwatch.
Heavy?
In 2024, we'll be releasing 3 more, and we want to give you a glimpse of 2 of them. A new damage hero venture is coming in Season 10, and a support currently codenamed Space Ranger in Season 12. And this is just scratching the surface of everything...
We talked about before the release cycle for League of Legends heroes, and they were much, much, much more aggressive with the release cycle, because that's what people want in their games.
It will have more information on Clash, the reworked competitive...
That's the thing that makes the games interesting, right? Just like heroes for League of Legends.
Even early gameplay footage of Venture, and so much more. And lastly, for the first time ever during a BlizzCon, not only is our next hero playable in the Overwatch Hall here in Anaheim, but all of you at home can play Mauga all weekend in-game, including Quick Play.
I think they announced this already.
Right after the BlizzCon opening ceremony concludes.
Which is actually a pretty good tie-in.
We know you'll love him just as much as we do. Thank you all. We'll see you in game.
Where's the discussion about the overhaul? Dude. Like, where's the fucking panel? Dude, why does their YouTube not have the content you want to see on it, and then you have to go to other people's channels which just have an inferior version of it. What the fuck is this? I think it's from their maybe live stream? The Overwatch World Cup live stream? Which... Overwatch. Come on. Let's see. Where's the panel? Oh. Hey, look, guys. Content you actually want to see.
Our next panel presentation will give you a glimpse into the future. Here's Overwatch, What's Next?
Why isn't this on the YouTube? No idea. Kind of weird because I was actually looking at the Twitters. We're looking at the Twitters, and like there was a post that said Overwatch is like the best game for people that are autistic or something like that. It's something really weird, and it's purely because they pander. It has nothing to do with like the design of the game itself, but they inferred it was because of the design of the game itself. There's plenty of games with a bunch of things going on. ADD fuel, right? Like MOBAs generally have a bunch of shit going on in them, and they aren't all. It's like the only comparison between Overwatch is Counter-Strike or something, and it's definitely not true at all.
Hello, Blizzcon. It's hard to believe that we're already more than halfway through. Blizzcon is an event that I wish could last the whole week. During yesterday's opening ceremony,
Why isn't this on YouTube?
off a few things.
Why do I have to dig for this?
It feels great being up here with these brilliant people, working on all of the fantastic things coming soon to Overwatch 2. I'd like to kick things off this session with a quick intro. I've been Overwatch franchise GM since November 2021. While I spent most of my first year as executive producer of Overwatch 2, I'm now focused on guiding Overwatch at the franchise level.
Was this guy part of the problem of why I turned into PvE? I mean, that's basically after Jeff left, after Kaplan left, and they still decided it was in their best interest to continue down that path. And by the way, it honestly seems like with the Overwatch PvE, it felt like they didn't even work on the game for like 3 years. It felt like Overwatch PvE is probably like 6 months worth of work.
And early in my Blizzard career, the company
It's pretty bad.
made the decision to move forward with a project codenamed Prometheus.
Oh my god. This is another throwback to Titan.
And seeing the look of wonder in the eyes of everyone around the table. It wasn't about numbers or dev schedules. No, the magic in the room was created by imagination. Imagination of the adventures to come in the Overwatch universe. I had a similar feeling again at Blizzcon in 2014. I sat in the crowd at opening ceremony, and I literally held my breath as the announcement of Overwatch approached. And as that Overwatch logo came up at the end of the first ever cinematic, the love in the hall felt as close to tangible as I've ever experienced. Since then, we've shared Overwatch as team-based PvP in the original game and now in Overwatch 2. And we also shared stories about our heroes in our cinematic pieces, comics, and short stories.
So if you're gonna go up on stage, do you have to buy a brand new shirt? It's like every time.
Big and small to share in the
Kind of feels that way.
As GM, I'm leading the exploration to push the frontiers of Overwatch and to reach beyond. But today, we're very excited to talk about the cool things coming to Overwatch 2. We're going to show you stuff that's very much work in progress, and perhaps tell you things that would make marketing nervous. But we really want to give you as much visibility as we can into the future of the game.
Yes, they lost a lot of credibility in the last year. Like, ever since the launch of Overwatch 2, it just, like, their branding just tanked. And then it, like, absolutely bottomed out with the PvE announcement earlier this year.
In our game each
Like, it's not that people really wanted PvE. It's just that they thought that's what they're working on. They thought that's what they're spending all their time on, and it turned out they weren't.
Our main goal for Overwatch 2 is striving to make PvP gameplay more rewarding and more fun. For today, our intention is to focus primarily on how we are aiming to improve those elements of the game that we know are important to so many of you. To go through it all, we have members of our fantastic...
So basically they're just addressing PR fires and blowback, one of which is the competitive system. We'll get to see how interesting this is. There's a lot of, basically from everything I've seen, guys, from other casters reacting to, none of it's level-headed. It's just, oh my god, guys, did you see the hype from Overwatch? Oh my god, keep the subs coming in. Keep the subs coming in. Oh my god, did you see how much hype there was? Oh god, there's so much hype with Overwatch. You know, and it has nothing to do with the level-headed take on what's actually happening, because they're literally just trying to boost their sub numbers. It's fucking weird. Like during the whole Overwatch World Cup thing, just like listing casters that were recasting it, and the only reason they're doing it, like, they have almost no interest in it. It's like just listening to someone with like what is empty words? Not like crocodile tears, just parroting stuff. Pandering, I guess? Not really. It's like they didn't even give a shit about what they're talking about. They're just doing it and going through the motions because they know other people are going to feed them subs if they do. Very, very artificial.
Thank you, Walter.
We'll see, though.
And hello, BlizzCon. Yeah, so we are excited to share as many of the exciting things that our team has been working on as we can.
Kaplan's coming back?
I'm Aaron, and I am joined by our
Yeah.
lead character concept artist, Daryl Tan. Game producer, Monica Lee.
Look like uncomfortable chairs. Right.
Associate art director, Peter Lee.
You're supposed to know these people?
Senior system designer, Gavin Winter.
Guy that gets shit done.
Okay, so let's kick things off and get into it. Peter, can you talk to us about Clash?
All right. Hello, Blizzcon. I wish.
So, there's a lot of people that are talking about this in all sorts of different ways. They basically took the push game mode where you push a robot around a track, and you push it back, and you contest it when it moves back and forth. They took the robot, and instead of having a robot, there's just points along the way. So you capture the point, and then you move to the next point, and you do it over and over and over again. So it's basically the same thing. They just replaced the robot with something else. Because push, honestly, is really... it's worse than 2CP. I fully think so.
Can we play the video? All right. Is this map looks familiar to everyone?
We're redoing Hanamura, which I guess with push in mind. I'm not exactly sure.
Hanamura is one of my favorite map. We'll talk more about that, but before I jump in, everything we are going to see today is very work in progress. And as a matter of fact, we were making a lot of changes even this week also. So
I guess bringing it back, they have to do changes. I didn't really mind the way Hanamura was before. People just like it. 2CP became a meme. It got canceled because of Twitter. Twitter canceled 2CP. It wasn't terrible. People just hated it at one point because you could tie more often than other game modes. But once they added the ticks into the top, it wasn't a tie anymore. People just disliked the fact that you played 2CP because everyone hated 2CP. It was just the thing to complain about on Twitter.
I think that looks...
And it may not work exactly the same in Overwatch 2 because there's only one tank, but they could fix that too. If they wanted to. But they don't want to because they got rid of it. It's like... it was weird. I was talking about this on Twitter, guys. So the difference is, like, with Fortnite, Epic is not afraid. They're willing to do basically fucking anything just to make the game better. And it really shows, right? They're not afraid to say, oh, Season 1 might have been good. Let's go take a look at it. The only time they've ever dug in their heels, they went, no, we shouldn't change this. The only time they did that was with building. And when spam building took off, it was arguably like one of the worst parts of their game. And they just kept going with it because everyone's like, oh, that's what makes the game unique. And then everyone put all the time into cranking 90s. And despite the fact that how fast you can build and edit is purely limited based on your latency, putting aside human reaction, it's based purely on your latency. Yeah. How low your ping is to the server. They just kept feeding it because they thought that's what was best for the game, when in fact it was just a completely broken mechanic. And people found out how to exploit the building mechanic to the point at which it wasn't really even building anymore. You're just shitting out tiles everywhere. And that's generally how they just kept the game going until they realized it's actually what's killing the game, and then they introduced no build instead of balancing it. They introduced no build. And now they're like, let's go back to Season 1 and maybe we'll rekindle some of the hype that's there. Maybe not. I don't think they really broke the game to the point at which Season 1 was better. Overwatch 1, in my personal opinion, was definitely better than Overwatch 2. And it still is better than Overwatch 2, purely because of the two tanks and the way the dynamic worked with them. And now that healers have basically gotten absolutely buffed out the wazoo, and they're basically superheroes in the game, and then the healers complain now on Twitter about their queue times because everyone wants to play the heroes that are really fucking broken. Surprise. Yeah, just... Like Blizzard digs in their heels. They're like, no, we did a good thing. It's like it's like a confirmation bias. We did a good thing in Overwatch 2. We have to keep doing it, right? Have to keep going. No 2CP. No 2CP. 2CP sucks. We know it is. That's why we got rid of it. No, they got rid of it because Twitter wanted it gone. And Twitter doesn't always know what it wants. It just knows what other people want.
In particular, has a special place in our heart for many reasons. Let me share my story.
One of the most known, Hanamura is probably the most known 2CP map in existence and hated 2CP map in existence. Actually, no. Volskaya Industries, I think, that's the Foundry map. That, I think, is actually worse than Hanamura. Hanamura was in a cinematic, though, for Hanzo and Genji.
And as what Chris Madsen mentioned yesterday, sometimes very epic thing can start with yes, let's expand this world with our lens. It was a magical moment.
Yeah, they're trying to relate to backstories I don't care about. It's all filler. Trying to have an emotional connection with the audience right now by telling a backstory. You know how if you ever watch like Pawn Stars or whatever, and they talk about things at auction, and it oftentimes has nothing to do with what you're actually buying, like the stat on it. It's about telling a story to go along with the item, right? That's basically what we're getting right now. They're trying to tell us a story about what makes, like, and trying to infer that this makes it good when, whatever.
So we made a new section of Hanamura, a street right next to the original map, and when you play this game, like, you should be able to tell where you are roughly. During this process, we also made a few new assets that can hint at the stories of Shimada clan and Hashimoto clan, also Kiriko's yokai group, and many others. So as an example, what you're seeing on the screen, the tiger represents Hashimoto clan, and the dragon represents the Shimada clan in our story. So we created this new wall painting, so subtly melting the story into our environment. I don't know if you can feel it, but every step and decision we made for this Hanaoka map was pretty exciting personally as a fanboy. And I hope this map also makes you excited as well.
Yeah, that joy that
2CP brought to us.
That joy that Peter and his team
Clap now.
to the Hanaoka map really is infectious. And we're very excited for players that loved Hanamura to re-experience it, and for players that are new to feel that wonder for the first time.
I wonder what he's thinking.
Are these beautiful works, and Hanaoka pushes that even further. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Clash, it's the third new game mode that we've made for Overwatch 2. The third new game mode we've made for all of Overwatch after Push and Flashpoint. And
Doesn't go into quick play, it doesn't matter. Quick play or competitive. If it can't go into quick play or competitive, it's a joke.
Always be developing new maps, and we put out several of them every year. But each time we do it, when we
several
put a
being
map
one,
for a known game mode, one that we already have, we can only make so many changes to that map. Like an escort map, it's always going to have 3 sections, and we use really hard corners in those to provide choke points for
stop people from getting instantly brained by people that are running aimbots.
we try to provide as much variety in those, but we really can't make something completely different until we start working on an entirely new type of objective, entirely new.
One thing I criticized him for earlier this year, earlier this year, was not spending time on game modes, things that matter. I had a pretty long-winded post on Twitter.
Very different levels, and they provide different.
Pretty sure I even replied to Keller at one point. Not that he replied to me, but I replied to him. When they're talking about PvE. It's one of the things that changes up games, guys. The meat and potatoes, characters, game balance. Maps are just like the fluff. Maps are just the fluff. Game modes change things too, how you play the game.
Like a new game mode every year, but we're not at the point where we think we ought to stop yet. And so let's talk a little bit about the history of Clash and the history of 5CP, because Clash has 5 control points laid out in a row. This is not the first time the Overwatch team has tried to make a 5CP map. We originally started making it for Volskaya. Volskaya Heavy Industries started as a 5CP map. Our early prototypes were of that.
2CP is a little bit different, which is you don't go in reverse, right?
And originally we called it Iron Star. These images right here were pieces that Peter did
Peter generated?
a long time ago as we were
I generated.
on Iron Star. And I think you did these when we were on Project Titan before Overwatch, right?
Mm-hmm. I would actually say that this looks an awful lot like AI generation, just because of how random and chaotic it is, where it doesn't seem to really have a thought or direction for it. Yeah. Like if the artwork predates AI, then obviously it's not AI, right? But having worked with AI and seen a lot of AI-generated stuff, and I'm not against AI in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to absolutely change the future, and there's nothing. You're just absolutely delusional if you think there's anything you can do to stop it. It is an unstoppable beast. You institute laws and regulations in the U.S. somewhere else, the other parts of the country, or other parts of the world, other countries are not going to do that, and they're just going to get ahead of us, and then it's just going to be outsourced. You're going to outsource your work to a cheap company that can do it somewhere else where AI is legal. And that's just the way it's going to be. But this honestly looks like something that AI generated, and maybe it's curated a little bit, just because of how random it looks. Like, it doesn't look like there's maybe there's a road here or something. Like, there, Russian themed, you can see the stars in the background. Yeah, this kind of doesn't feel like real artwork, but concept art can usually be kind of messy. It's just something where you ask someone to make a doodle for inspiration, right?
A long time ago, as we were working on Iron
But it's a long time ago. He said so.
when we were on Project Titan.
What good has AI done so far? It exists, and it's completely changing how we're approaching things. I've coded with AI. There's AI artwork. There's AI songs. Like there's I forgot the name of the website, but basically it allows you to make completely new. Well, not completely new because it's trained on work. Completely new music that is just played constantly. It's just going to completely change the game as far as the amount of work that humans need to do. And artists are still going to be important because there still needs to be someone that touches up the AI. But as soon as that gets figured out, maybe the artists aren't even needed. There's always going to be people at the top level jobs that do stuff, but there's a lot of jobs that are hanging in the balance for AI, including analytics. It's not just like creative work, but like analytics, programming, coding.
Yeah, how old are these images, do you think?
It drastically reduces the workloads and makes things cheaper. And it's accessible. You can go make AI artwork right now. You personally can go make AI artwork. Creatives fucking hate it because they know what it does. Like, as far as like a job niche goes, they know exactly what's happening with it. And like, you don't need to be, you could touch up like the problems it has with it, assuming you're remotely good at like tweaking little dials and, messing with things like in Midjourney. You can tweak things and literally just make what you want through prompts, and you don't need to be super skilled as an artist. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people because you don't really need to hone the craft that much, but there's still things that are wrong with it, like 6 fingers being one of the problems, just randomly generating arms, appendages, fingers, and just becoming a fucking Akira abomination. But otherwise, we're on V0 of AI right now, and it's already insane. You're probably going to have an AI girlfriend. Or boyfriend.
When you look at 3CP, where there's like a point in the middle and one on each side, it's almost like a symmetrical version of Assault. or what the community would call 2CP for Overwatch. I'm assuming most of you know what it is. If you're new to Overwatch 2 and didn't play the original game, 2CP was a game mode where there was...
2CP is fantastic, Keller.
Would try to capture two
Yeah,
control points
it was
in a row.
constant.
And we had
Constant battles. That's what made it great.
With 2CP,
No,
we were
you
never
just
really able
just
to
agreed.
solve.
You just agreed with the
Two
community.
ones
The
that
Twitter
they're
consensus
related
got to you.
each other. The offense
No.
sometimes would just get...
This is basically what they're talking about right here, where it's basically 5 CP, but it goes in both directions. You can go back and forth between them. Possibly go back and forth, actually. It looks like you might only be able to capture this once, and then you go back and forth between D and E. So maybe you can't recapture point C, and it's worth more points or something? There might be a scoring metric here. Because the arrows don't go both directions, so maybe point C only goes one direction. Basically, it's like push. So if you have a robot that gets pushed along the line, right? The point is the robot, and where it goes determines basically when you capture certain areas or move your line forward, right? And here, it doesn't really... You just capture the point and move it through.
Assault map. And the way those maps were designed, because there's only 2 objectives, we really favored the defense from a level design point of view. But sometimes
You know?
the offense
I mean,
would
that's the
make
point.
good progress in the map.
It was assault.
Time would run out, they would lose. It felt like the match had like no story to it, almost like
Bullshit.
nothing even
I absolutely enjoyed 2CP.
And on the other
People just
side,
don't like dying, so anytime you die doing something in the game, it makes you angry. Because they focus too much on deaths, which is why deaths shouldn't even be a metric in the game, because it doesn't tell you anything about how good they're doing in the game. It just tells you how much they're hiding in a corner, playing with their dick. You get, when you kill someone, you get barely any ult charge. Ult charge is equivalent of your HP for most characters. So, depending on how much ult charge you get, is determined, the ult gauge is determined by how much damage you do to people, which is what matters, and that can be offset with healing, of course. It's not just deaths. And it's absolutely nothing. One death is absolutely no ult charge. But it doesn't even make sense from that standpoint. Just give something for the kids to bitch about.
We greatly expanded the cap time for those control points. It's like over a minute to take them some of the time. There was some promise there. It was a lot of fun. But the way those maps are built, defending a point from the defense never really worked. The map geometry didn't really like let that happen in like a fluid way. But we kind of always kept that in the back of
He's
our
trying.
mind.
He's trying. There was really no reason to get rid of 2CP. That's a good game mode.
Some of those experiments, because we knew the community had a love for Assault, a love for 2CP, because when it played right, it was pretty amazing. Like, I really loved Assault.
Comes out.
And so we
Because it wasn't actually that bad. It was frustrating because you just don't get to win. Like, because it's not speedrunning. You didn't just get to win.
So we started working on Clash. And so let's, like, I can get into a bit of the rules and the way Clash
2CP should 100% come back.
I guess was the preamble for the way Clash works. I was a history major. I always like go into the past before I get to the future. Sorry. So yeah,
Telling a story.
5 control points.
I gotta take a piss, guys. I will be right back, and we're gonna watch more of this. 1 second. And we're covering this, by the way, because I do like Overwatch, and one of the reasons I actually talk passionately about it is because it's a game I very much enjoyed. It's very unique, and I think there's still a lot of potential, as there is with most games, for it to come back and be good again. Be right back, guys. Okay.
At the start of the game, each team owns the 2 control points that are closest to their side of the map, and the middle point is the neutral control point. That's the one that both teams are going to fight over. For all the people here at Blizzcon, you can think of it as Blizzcon. Point C is the Overwatch World Cup. The arena over here is point A, and the Warcraft section is point E, all the way down at the other end of the hall.
What does it have to do with anything? Do they fight over him?
Point is going to unlock, and both teams fight over that. When one team captures that, a new control point is going to unlock in the direction that the offense is moving. If you've played other multiplayer games with 5CP, typically those have 2 control points active at any time. We don't do it here. We just have one at a time. Every time we've tried to make more than one objective active for Overwatch,
people don't know what to do.
It just doesn't work.
Because that's made for a game mode that has a lot more players. That would work with more players. You don't have enough players, you can barely hold 1 point, right? So your team would just go from point to point to point, back and forth. There's not enough people to occupy the map. In a game where that actually exists, i.e. Team Fortress 2, you're talking like 12v12s, and modified servers, you're talking like 20 versus 20. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who can actually play it. In the case of Overwatch, on the other hand, there isn't. They went from 6 to 5, which in my personal opinion was a mistake. It actually should have probably went up. It should have went to like 7. And I mean that you just add another DPS on or something like that. Because not only is it less fun, but there's less interaction. There's less things going on. And other games have done it like consoles because they have a problem with budget. They have a problem with, hey, we have limited GPU horsepower and people are generally pretty stupid. Let's try to make a game that people understand. And then you end up with like 3v3s and stupid shit like that. That's not fun in my opinion. That's personally not fun. So of course, more control points active at the same time does not work in Overwatch. The reason for that being, without some sort of mechanic that governs them, the reason for that being is because there's not enough people to actively defend and attack points. You just end up with 4v5s, and one person would run around and basically 1v1. And they try to capture points that no one's at. That's what it would turn into, which is not fun at all. There is no direct contention, there's no direct fighting, because there's not enough players in the game to make it work. Could they make it work in Overwatch? Sure. Sure they could. They just have to add more players to the game. They can make it a quick play mode, right? They don't, though. They don't want to touch the whole player count. I don't know why. They don't want to touch the whole player count ideology. And, you know, putting aside the 1 6v6 mode that exists, I think it's an open queue or something like that. Yeah, just not... Which doesn't work anymore because tanks aren't balanced that way.
The magic of Overwatch is 2 teams working together for a common objective, and the
it depends on how big the teams are.
Relying on each other to do that. In this example, point D would unlock. If Team 1 were to take point D, they would then point E would unlock. And if they were to actually go all the way through and capture point E, then Team 1 would win. It doesn't happen that often. It's very defensive favor at that point. It even takes longer to capture as the offense. And so typically this match starts moving back and forth, and the
like
offense will push a certain distance, and then they won't take the next point. The defense will take it, and then the defense starts moving. So it almost feels a little bit like 2CP, but you're moving back and forth across.
So there's a defense and offense side, and they aren't mirrored.
When you take one, your team will score a point. So we do have a maximum score in there. Sometimes 5CP can devolve into these hour-long matches where nobody's able to push all the way through. That's our early out in this phase where you get to a certain score. We're still tuning that right now, but you'll hit a certain score, and then your team will also win right there.
And they could time limit it and score base it. I'm surprised it's not mirrored, though.
Say that this is like the sweatiest version of Overwatch because you do move back and forth a lot. You have a lot of moments where
push.
There's a lot less chokes in a match.
I don't know why it's not just mirrored. I don't know why there's an offense and defense side.
A lot of free movement.
Besides, they're trying to copy 2CP. I don't think it works like 2CP at all, though. 2CP is like a siege. It's a good way to look at it. You could even call it siege.
Something I really like about this process that we were developing this game.
That's curious. I didn't think they had an offense and defense side, which still doesn't make sense even after they explained it.
Finalize anything, like we were just like
It'd just make the game take longer.
and blocking it out and put it
I guess they wanted to differentiate it maybe from 2CP, or not 2CP, push. Maybe they wanted to make it different from push, and I don't think it honestly needs a defense and offense. That doesn't make sense at all.
team members was very meaningful and in a way, very similar to this the fest.
Maybe they wanted to bring 2CP back, and they didn't want to make it too much like 2CP.
It's like really interesting to think about. Like the team really came together for this. Our team has grown a lot over the years. We have a lot of new people on the Overwatch team, and this is the first time that we've actually.
And despite it, the abomination for PvE came out earlier this year that they supposedly spent 3 years on. I don't even know. 4 years, actually, because Overwatch 1 came out, right? And the content for Overwatch 1 was, like, stopped in like, 2019 or so is when they stopped the drip for Overwatch 1. I think there's a new hero in 2019. When was the last hero? I think it was Baptiste's last hero in Overwatch 1. Last hero... Overwatch hero release dates. Let's take a look here. I think maybe it was... No, it was... Echo. Echo was the last release before they stopped the drip. 2020. But basically, for all intents and purposes, it was done in 2019. So they stopped the drip, and they were already working on Overwatch 2 at this point, by the way. They stopped the drip in 2019, and they didn't really release anything until 2022, so that's 3 years later. And you knock off a year for, like, COVID or something, and then PvE wasn't even out until this summer. So that's like another year on top. It's literally like 4 years for them to release the garbage that they did for PvE. And their team apparently grew, according to what Keller just said, which is absolutely insane. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Maybe they weren't working on it. I heard there's some problems with during COVID with World of Warcraft, so maybe they weren't working on Overwatch 2. Kinda doubt it. Overwatch 2 is kind of a big part of their company. Well, was a big part of their company. So the idea that they weren't working on the game, what did they do for 3 years? I mentioned this when PvE was coming out, because what they mentioned was actually like what they saw. But what were they doing for 2 years or 3 years? 2 years if you knock off COVID. Like the content they released from Overwatch 2 and the PvE did not make up for 2 or 3 years of development, 4 years of development. Does not make up for it at all. Like what did they do? I don't know. I guarantee you that's why Keller left though. Or not Keller, Kaplan left.
Actually created a new game mode from scratch with all new people on the team. Gavin Winter was a part of it. The level designer on
Like they have a Twitter problem or something?
wasn't on the original Overwatch.
Maybe Elon Musk needs to buy him.
Really, yeah, it's like this new team, this new group of people that were able to pull this off.
Kind of feels that way.
So proud of all of
I hope Elon Musk buys Overwatch or Blizzard. I wonder what happened to the company if he did. What kind of games would they then make? Would it be the same? Would it be like old Blizzard, or would it be a new Blizzard, or would it be a worse Blizzard?
Before we get into that, Monica, can you get into some of the PvE updates that are coming?
Yeah, super excited to be here chatting with you guys.
Yeah, I didn't give two shits about Twitter till Musk bought it, because when you got on there, it was just all the same shit just posted to your timeline. Just a bunch of people agreeing with each other and jerking each other off.
Any specifics that we can share just yet? I know I'm a monster, I'm sorry. But it's really awesome to see how invested people are and what's going to happen with the Overwatch story, both canon and non-canon, with the heroes and the universe. The team has received some really great feedback from players that we're going through, and we're using all of that to inform how we develop all of the cool stuff coming next. But for right now, I'm really excited to share some major updates coming in Season 8 for Hero Mastery. The thing that I really love about Overwatch is that it isn't just one thing.
Hero Mastery was some weird-ass fucking... It's like speed running.
Leaderboard experience. We introduced Hero Mastery this past September.
Really terrible idea, too, by the way.
For us to see players in the courses trying to top their previous scores and get better, so we're really
Yeah.
excited to expand the roster of playable
Someone's literally just going to make an auto hotkey for it, and that's going to be the end of that. There's like... Mercies were complaining about all having like the same score, and then it was based on like who got the highest score first or something like that.
Those will be Diva, Echo, Genji, Lucio, and Mei.
Another part of the game that really should not have never been there. That's something you tack on in your spare time, you know, if no one gives a shit, but they wasted dev time on it.
Excited to have leaderboard resets go live with this update.
No idea why they did it.
Introducing replay bookmarks, so you could rewatch parts of your gameplay and look for areas to improve your score.
Not Trackmania.
Hero Mastery. Personally, as a being a support main, I don't support mains.
Ah, I know why support mains are so good in the game.
Play the tank too much. Like I wanted to.
Supports are still good.
Expand my hero roster.
I mean healers, sorry.
But I didn't have a proper introduction to that role. So hero mastery was the perfect opportunity for me to jump in and like practice my skill. And especially when I was doing that with Reinhardt, like it was such a great moment for for me to learn the a control of charge, when to charge, how to stop, like how early should I stop. So that was just the very fun moment that I had with hero mastery.
Are you a top 500 Reinhardt now?
Getting close.
Close. Soon.
Oh, 4.
Keeping with the philosophy of having something for everyone, we don't want to limit the hero mastery experience for folks who want to play with their friends or maybe meet new ones in game. For me, Overwatch has been a social game, and we're really looking forward to bringing that into hero mastery next year with Hero Mastery Gauntlet. This new 3-player co-op mode features the Hero Mastery Art Kit, bots, and all-new gameplay that is focused on enemy waves and tower defense. We have some work-in-progress footage up here where you could see the 3 Gauntlet towers, which are our objective points. The goal for the team is to defend the towers from attacking bots. There'll be exploding bots, flying bots, all sort of varieties there. And it's really fun to challenge juggling the defense of 3 towers, the different kinds of bots, and different ways to power up. And so as a result, you want to make sure that...
This isn't a game that is driven around PvP. This is like... So, in the case of Fortnite started out as a PvE weird fucking experience. If you ever played the original Fortnite, I did. If you've ever played the original Fortnite and you don't have this this nostalgic view on it, it was a clusterfuck. It was... It like schizophrenic mess is how I described it, and I still describe it. It's like they put a bunch of different elements from different games together and slapped it together. And they're like, oh, look at this works. And then in a last-ditch effort to make it work, they added a battle royale to it. And then you have actual Fortnite now, right? In this case, it literally looks like they're going in reverse. They're devolving a PvP franchise that is established into this weird schizophrenic version of Overwatch. Like, hey, look, you can go in here and shoot bots off the edge. Yay! Like, they want something for the casual players. And I've actually mentioned before that the game lacks casual game mode. This is not what I meant by a casual game mode. A casual game mode would be more players. You have a Team Fortress 2 experience, which means you're playing with more players in generally a less competitive environment. This is just whatever you're tacking onto the game that almost no one's going to be interested in. They're going to play it like Lucio Ball, and then they're going to be done with it, and that's it. And maybe you'll have a handful of people that are dedicated to it. It's not something you'd spend game time on, like game development time on. I don't know who fucking did this or why they did this, but this is a really stupid idea.
If you're being swarmed by bots, or you can generate healing for the entire...
This is like they're trying to fucking make... They're trying to make Save the World for Fortnite. Why?
But like now you can play hero mastery plus I'm a big fan of like a tower defense mode, and like you can do that with your friends.
Yeah.
I
and there's leaderboards for this too. So like, there's going to be like a crazy.
Like Fortnite tacks a lot of stuff onto their game, but they do so not at the expense of the main game mode. The main game mode is the core of the game, right? They keep that shit going. And they pump stuff on the side of it. This looks like they're doing this in lieu of the main game mode. Well, not so much anymore, but during the summertime up until the PvE cataclysm.
Interesting you asked that.
This is just... why?
When Gauntlet ships, we're going to have heroes rotate seasonally, and we're also going to have new custom rewards from challenges. We really want each game to feel highly...
Like, if you actually go and try to play the PvE right now, there's literally no one playing it. It's next to impossible to get queues for it. Clap signs on, guys.
It's going to be super, super fun. Okay, so we've heard just a little...
Like, stuff like that would be alright if they actually made, like, a tower defense scenario, which takes a significant amount of development effort. So, you do something like, what is it? Not Realm Royale. There's a lot of different tower defense games over the years. Let's see. The second one was worse than the first one, though. Sanctum was a tower defense game. Not what I'm talking about, though. First-person shooter tower defense game, too. Realm Royale was a battle royale. There are dungeon defenders. There you go, dungeon defenders.
Our competitive system, since
But in case of dungeon defenders and stuff like that, they have a well flushed out system in terms of building and like abilities and armor you can pick up, gearing you can do too on top of it. Like they actually made a game around it. It's just like, hey, look, you can go shoot some people with your abilities. Once again, like they're trying to do man versus machine, even man versus machine in Team Fortress 2, despite the fact that there's basically like a linear way you play characters because there's only so many skills that are good. Like at least they have like the skill trees, and they just didn't really do it with this game. Keller's judging you guys, by the way.
And we've listened to all of it. It's important for us to hear what you all have to say.
Elon has too much on his plate. He pays people to have plates that he then has.
And Gavin is here to talk us through it.
Thanks, Aaron. First, I want to tell you about our approach to improving competitive play. So, as most of you know,
so I assume this is a knee-jerk. We'll see whether or not there's any meat to it.
Transparent about how we construct our matches, how your rank is determined.
The reason for this, I'm very certain, is because it's weighted. Weighted means that they actually have criteria that they assess you by. It's not just based purely off wins and losses. We know it's not based purely off wins and losses, despite what they might have said. The reason for it is because people rank up off loss streaks, and people downrank off win streaks. So, it's not based on wins losses purely.
Or how our rewards function. Most of you have all the golden weapons you'd ever want.
And the whole reason, by the way, you obfuscate a weighted system is so people can't figure it out and game it. That's one of the reasons you do that.
Points doesn't feel great. And since we launched Overwatch 2, we've had issues with the way players are distributed at our highest and lowest ranks.
I think that's purely because of cheating.
Though these problems make our goals pretty straightforward.
Ruins the matchmaker.
More feedback in the game about every aspect of
Another thing that's ruined by cheating.
We need new rewards and
Even if people, so if you cheat, guys, and you have insanely good aim, you'll always be good at killing people, right? Directly killing people, but it doesn't necessarily mean you know how to play the game.
around how to get them. And we need to address the pain points. Things like how bad it feels to be on a loss streak.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Life has been ruined by cheating? Sure. But you can kind of control it in the game, in the case of a game scenario.
doesn't feel good to have 14 losses.
No. So in Season 9, we're introducing a variety of changes to competitive.
By the way, the only way that they could help you get away from a loss streak, the only way they could help with that, guys, is if they stack the deck. So they give you a team that is much more powerful than the enemy team. And that basically means they're going to shit on the enemy team. Loss streaks are kind of something you can't always avoid if people are all at the same level, assuming the game isn't trying to fuck you. If people are all at the same level, you're going to end up in a weird scenario where you're going to end up with loss streaks. It's just going to happen. The stars will align. Do they suck? Sure. I don't think... Like, I've played Overwatch. I don't think I've ever really gotten frustrated about being on a loss streak. Heroes of the Storm I have been. I was at one point when they changed the matchmaker. That's when you generally do get loss streaks. In Heroes of the Storm, I had one day where I lost 20 fucking games in a row. It was pretty fucking insane. And I was like top dealing damage and shit. I was just getting people that didn't know how to play the game. So unless they stack the deck, like, you're not really going to get away from it. In the case of Heroes of the Storm, that was the only time I got really fucking tilted because I was like doing my best. It wasn't really anything different than the day before I played. But it was pretty clear that the team composition was very different than what I got. In the case of Overwatch, assuming that they aren't stacking the deck, you're going to have experiences where it just comes down to RNG at the end of the day, and it sucks. And the only way to get away from it and give you a win is at the expense of someone else. They get a loss, right? So, what, you just give people free wins just to get them away from a loss streak? There's really no way to deal with that.
First, we're removing the requirement to get 5 wins or 15 losses to get a competitive update. Yeah. So, loss streaks would guarantee that you were going to rank down, so what's the incentive to keep playing if you're on one? In its place...
They weren't guaranteed. There's people that ranked up off loss streaks.
More transparent than ever. Let's go. We call this the competitive overview. With this new system, your rank will update after every match, win or loss. The progress bar at the bottom shows exactly how much your rank increased after this win.
There's no lost streaks because you always see the update at the end. But you'll still end up on a lost streak. Good morning, Artie. Oh my God, it's another. Oh, don't let the OG tempt you, Artie. He just puts on a show.
Yeah. Down to gold 2 is on the left.
And when you hit that, so when you win a game and it hits plat 5, you immediately rank up to plat 5. You're not waiting extra games to do something like that. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, yay.
So we call those green arrows below that progress bar rank modifiers. They show why your rank changed the way it did. So, since we want to be as precise as possible. So these are explained in detail by the information button on this page.
It is weighted. It is weighted. And they're trying to obfuscate the weighting system. I call this shit at the beginning of Overwatch 2. It is weighted. These are the weighted modifiers at the bottom here, which they're still obfuscating. But it is weighted. It's not based, it's a point system and not based purely off your wins and losses. It is this system already exists in the first place. They're just figuring out a way of showing it to you with allowing people to have instant gratification. I called this shit. I called this shit months ago. A year ago.
This one means you ranked up even more because you're on a win streak. We'll talk about that smaller progress bar in the
reason for this that exists is in case you are smurfing. So the reason you have a system like this is to get people out of the rank they're at as fast as humanly possible because they don't deserve to be there, or they shouldn't be there, because it ruins everyone else's experience if you're much more skilled, right? Smurfs are a big problem. Despite what top 500 players go, oh my God, people are leveling up so fast, they're at the rank they shouldn't be. Yeah, you have to understand top 500 is in the 0.01% of the player base. They're not everyone else. So just because 0.01% of the player base has a somewhat, crappier experience does not mean that they should get rid of it because needs of the many in this case is many, many more.
But as you can see at the bottom, we've also
it's
added
weighted.
Takes you straight to the final scoreboard.
Yeah, and there's also a rank progress.
Beat that
might
shit.
be hard to read. It's a little bit small on the screen, but it's right above that bar right there. And right now it says your rank progress is 85%. So you can see you're exactly 85%.
It was a contrary called the Right. We're gonna schedule this. I fucking called this shit a year ago.
There's a lot of people, when we get feedback, a lot of people were asking us to bring SR back. It was the system that we had.
It already exists. It already fucking exists. It's just hidden.
A few issues with SR, and
It's just a number.
maybe, like two of the biggest ones are one. It was a very arbitrary number to just say you were 2374.
Arbitrary. 2374. Everybody knows
Right.
what 2374 is.
And it does, like, we recognize it does take on meaning after a while for people that are playing with it. What we're hoping
League of
here
Legends
is that
system.
You're gold 1 and you're 85.
Where you actually have a rank, you have a
80% of the way through gold 1, and that
badge.
more meaning
Badge is
for
your
the
rank
vast
instead.
majority of players. And also at the same time, the difference
Called this shit a year ago. Fucking year ago. With examples, and people didn't believe it.
It's like less than 4 wins.
Which is people
from each other.
ranking up
And
off
so
a loss
it
streak and
wasn't
ranking
necessarily
down ranking on win
played
streaks.
very well through
Which
the SR system.
that's information you can't just ignore. You can't go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. No, that doesn't make sense at all.
We really like having these divisions in there, and we really want people to know precisely where they are in that division, and so that's the reason we went this way. Obviously,
I don't have a problem with this, by the way.
we
I didn't have a problem with the weighted system in the first place.
The system can evolve over
Called it.
time, but this
Fucking
is
called
where
it.
it's at right now.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we launch Season 9, we'll also be resetting ranks and bringing placements back to Overwatch 2. So this isn't a full MMR reset, but it will give you a chance to make a big change to your rank. Because your
People just like having the ability and thinking they're better than they are, or worse, not worse than they are, better than they are, so they deserve to be in a better placement. Which I don't have a problem, by the way, with placements. I don't have a problem with placements or with lack thereof. The both systems work, in my personal opinion. Placements give people a little nugget of hope, right, that you can do a lot better than you currently are because you're just in the wrong place, right? Which sometimes it is actually the case. But yeah, it gives people a little zap of pizzazz that they can do a lot better, and then they play for a week after placements and realize they're probably, they're back where they were in the first place.
Chance to earn a new rank, because we'll also be redistributing players at all ranks. Those of you
They're
that are
changing.
Bronze 5, Silver 5, and Silver 4 know how hard
Yep,
it can be to play
probably in the
players,
coming days.
and we
We're
can
going back
use
already.
that with the redistribution.
We're going back purely. I thought Cities was gonna be good. It's not really, so whatever. And Starfield, we're playing it just because I don't feel like going back to Overwatch 2 right now, but it's still fun. But probably going back in coming days.
Those of you in Grandmaster 1 also know that we have more Grandmasters than we ever did in Overwatch 1. So, as part of this redistribution, we're also adding a new rank above Grandmaster called Ultimate.
What the?
We want to update our...
You're supposed to get applause right there, by the way. So they added Predator. Why? Why? They're bumping the ranks. They're bumping the ranks, guys. They're making it so your rank actually means one less than what it currently is. They're changing the distribution back to what it was, but they didn't want to make people feel bad about going down in ranks, so they added another rank. They bloated the ranks to make people feel better. Oh my god. Holy shit. Instead of... And he thinks this is hot shit, by the way. Instead of just, redistributing players to the appropriate rank, which means a lot of people are going to go down in rank, or more than likely go down in rank, depends on how they change the distribution, right? They added a new rank and just bumped the new ranks bump everyone down. yeah, they don't want to make people feel bad about going down in ranks, so what they did is just added a new rank. Come on. And it's ultimate? You couldn't think of a better word than ultimate? Like diamond? Was diamond too much or something? Like what? I guess diamond's taken. Sorry, diamond's ruby? Like what's a better metal? I don't know. What's higher than GM and like chess, right? Grandmaster, ultimate. I guess ultimate master. That's where they came up with. They didn't have anything better than ultimate for a fucking rank. Come on, like you could call them Overwatch or something, right? The fuck? Or you can make top 500 Overwatch. I don't know. That's kind of ultimate. You have medals. Yeah, I mean, you could add a wood tier to the bottom if you wanted to, right? You have medals. You have gems. I mean, the only gem is like diamond, right? There's diamond, then there's master and grandmaster. So you have one gem. You have medals. You have a gem, and then you have top 500. So they added ultimate just out of nowhere. Like what? They could have picked another gem. They could have picked a valuable metal, I guess, but then that would throw off the medals, right? What? Why? They're like, what's? I don't remember what the top rank in Valorant's called, but this reminds me like what they did with Apex, where you have Predator, right? Which is like the top ranking players. And I guess they're trying to. Why ultimate though? That's like not something you call someone. You don't call someone ultimate, right? Like pick a name. Pick a name like Apex Predator is taken, right? You Pinnacle or something, right? Like, word hippo. Pinnacle. Zenith Summit. Top. Acme Crest. Apogee. Crown. Capstone. Eminence? You could call them Eminence. You call them Eminence, right? They picked Ultimate. Why would you do that? Of all things you could name people, why would you pick Ultimate? So we have a redistribution of ranks because they don't want to make people feel bad about going down. So now Masters are going to be Diamond and Grandmaster is going to be Masters. And now Ultimate is going to be Grandmasters. Oh, why? It does, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, the word's there, right? Like, you want to call them something that is the ultimate, but it's not the word you pick for the ultimate. Eminence would actually be a pretty good one, too. You call someone an eminent? Yeah, like, that would actually make sense. Just, all you had to do was use a thesaurus. All you had to do was use a thesaurus, man.
Competitive rewards every year, too. So in Season 9, we'll be adding emerald weapons. Now this art's not...
Call them emeralds, but I guess then it interferes with the whole diamond rank, right? The gems?
I need those emerald Zenyatta balls. They look so cool.
Me too.
Oh my God.
Wants the balls.
So when we add weapons, we'll convert all of our current
course she does.
points into a legacy currency that you can still spend on golden weapons if you want.
More legacy currencies.
You'll need to earn competitive points in the new season.
I think what's really exciting about this, I love.
By the way, you could make some guns look really fucking cool, so not against that. Eminence is classy. Yeah, the fuck it is, isn't it? You call someone the Eminence? You call someone an Eminent or Eminence? Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But this is going along with a whole.
All I did was use a word hippo and look through the list of words and picked out one that sounded good, or a couple, and you throw it up on the dartboard and then you throw darts at it, right? Come on, man. Come on. I'm literally... I don't have your job, and I know how to do it better. Ultimate. Why Ultimate? It's like something from like a 90s game or some cheesy 90s game.
And it's also like a really exciting moment for players.
Hi, Eminent.
On an annual basis.
Yeah, every 2 months was probably way too often.
Yeah.
So, going back to solving our problems. We know that the competitive challenges page was really confusing, and that was the only place to see how to earn our rewards. So we're removing competitive challenges and building a new page to show progress.
That no one actually did.
Seasonal rewards.
Almost no one did. I think streamers did this because they're bored and they want to show off to the stream.
Way to show rewards and the requirements to get them.
Yep. Because now it puts it in the front where people can look at it as like quests, like Fortnite. And then you make a tracker. Like every good game should have a quest tracker, right? Like Starfield. Like Starfield should have a quest tracker, right? The fucking giant, almost MMO RPG that's so fucking huge, and the quest tracking log is a fucking mess. Yeah, I could have used a quest tracker.
Payouts of competitive points. But just like our current weekly challenges, wins grant a lot of bonus progress. And another small improvement we're going to make is showing the range of ranks in the match instead of just the average. You can see that in the top left.
Yeah, so one of the reasons, by the way, I perfectly understand why they do this. So the reason the Twitter community, the Twitter consensus, streamers get pissed off about this is because they want to piss on someone. So the reason they don't show you the ranks of individual players is because all the people want to do is blame game. Like, just go to anyone's channel. One of the chicks that I watch, oh god, she's so fucking toxic. Not toxic as in she's an asshole continually. She gaslights the fuck out of anyone on like... The Twitch community, guys, is so... It's a unique show in Overwatch. There's a lot of really weird people in there. And a lot of really weird things. But she is absolutely toxic as fuck. And not, like in a toxic girlfriend way. Where she just gaslights the fuck out of anyone that doesn't agree with her. Like, just constantly makes you question your reality and you're a bad person for ever thinking in the first place. Holy shit. But, like, the whole reason they don't show ranks is because they understand... that if they do, all people are going to do is beg on one person. That's the whole reason deaths shouldn't exist in the game, is because deaths aren't even an indicator how good you're doing in the game. Your numbers, your damage, your healing, stats that they don't even show you too, like damage absorbs, for instance, for a tank, how good you are at soaking damage, or killing blows, which they don't even show you, right? There's no killing blows in the game. Closest thing in other games, kills in other games are basically killing blows. It's the last hit, but you can make that into an actual meaningful metric, like if you're the only person that did damage to someone within 3 seconds before they died, it's a killing blow. Has meaning, right? Right now, limbs in the game are just assists, as they are in older games or in other games, which is you just do damage to someone, you get in a limb. There's no kills at all. There's no kills. People that say there's a KD ratio are full of shit. So you can end up with a really, really high limb count, and it means absolutely nothing. It just means you touch someone. You touch someone at some point in time. But the whole reason they don't show you ranks of individual players is because all people will do is literally just shit all over someone for their low rank. That's it. You don't deserve this. Be in this game. You're the reason we're losing, no matter what. It doesn't even matter if you're doing well. They're the reason you're being in this game. Oh my god, why am I even in here with these low rank players? You know, shit like that, right? And there is some little bit of credibility, you know, like you being put into a wrong lobby with just, like, it's engineered to lose, basically. Sure. But a lot of times with streamers, they just look for any way to get out of it. Any fucking way. And it always comes down to blame game. It always comes down to blame game. The reason people are not in, which, by the way, Twitch streamers will complain about this because they use people for content while they blame game them. The reason that people are not in voice comms is because they realize there's no point in being in voice comms. You can do everything better with the ping system, especially if Blizzard, you know, polished it a bit. They can make it even better than it currently is. Because you don't need to know when someone's last hit and they're actually at 3/4 health, right? That doesn't fucking matter. You can see people through walls. If you have auras on, which everyone should, you can see people through walls. You can see pings in the game. That's actually meaningful information. Hearing someone tell you you're picking the wrong character, changing the character just to make them feel better, and then still losing and have them blame you is not meaningful. It doesn't help anyone, and it actually takes away from the experience. But streamers will always talk about, oh, XYZ isn't in chat, that's why we're losing. Because they just want someone to harass the entire game. They just want someone to blame game and harass. And that's all it is. It's just passive-aggressive harassment behavior. Like, the whole reason these doesn't exist, you can't see each person's individual rank, is because immediately, if Spricey sees that Tyrone YOLO has a rank that's one lower than him, he's going to be like, oh man, we're going to lose because he's a fucking healer and he has a shit rank, man. We're already going to lose. Did you see this? We're already fucking lost. Our entire team I'm the highest ranked on our team, and we're going to lose because, oh my god, all these guys can't do anything. You know, it is literally blame gaming. It's all blame gaming. That's it. And Twitch streamers just literally, they'll just gaslight the fuck. They have nothing to talk about, so they'll sit there the entire time just like shit talking someone, because that's all they do. That's their existence. Anything that takes you away from noticing their mess ups, they'll try and tell you. Like, I talk about cheating a lot. That's basically the only time I will actually literally fault people, unless they're literally throwing, like just going and wall riding as Lucio across the map and doing absolute fuck all. The only time I literally like target someone is if they're cheating, and like the cheating behavior, and that's purely it. And there's a lot of cheating. You can literally Google Overwatch cheats and have a fun day, guys. But, which by the way, they aren't addressing any of this in this conference here where everyone's clapping for it. There's no mention of anti-cheat or improving the anti-cheat system or making kernel anti-cheat, which is needed for any sort of legitimate anti-cheat, by the way. If you don't have kernel anti-cheat, your game is a joke. It's an absolute fucking joke. And it's not that kernel anti-cheat is a silver bullet. Rather, all cheats operate on a kernel level. They literally, almost all cheats operate on a kernel level. There's any good cheat is going to operate on the kernel level, because that means other services can't interact with it, and it just says final say. It is the start of anti-cheat is kernel level. You just have to start there. Fucking Valorant has kernel level anti-cheat, and there's still people cheating at the game. But the fact is, they actually got to the point where they actually have it. Overwatch does not have kernel anti-cheat. And it really fucking shows. This game is a mess when it comes to cheating. It is an absolute fucking mess. It never used to be, but it is now. But, anyways, going back to this, guys, the whole reason they do not show ranks is because it's blame game. It's blame game fuel. That's the reason for it. And people should understand that you should not be allowed to see rank. It doesn't matter how much you want to see it. And anyone that tells you, oh, I want to see this person's rank, the reason they're doing that is because they want to blame game someone. That's it. That's purely it. They just want to look for an out. That's all it is. And people are clapping right now because this is a Twitter consensus, by the way. Twitter consensus is like, yeah, man, this fucking streamer talks all the time about how you should see ranks so you can see what kind of game you're in, so you can see what kind of, people are, what kind of rational argument could you actually make for it. So everyone's on exactly the same footing, right, in this game? Yeah, no.
We're also planning a lot of bigger changes after Season 9, like with grouping and competitive, for example. We want players to be able to play with their friends, so we'll be removing most of our current grouping restrictions. To do that, though...
They aren't. They're going back to Overwatch 1, which we'll talk about in a sec here. I saw this already.
Competitive matches. So if you're a diamond player and you want to group with your bronze friend, we'll allow that, but we'll classify your group as a wide group.
This is Overwatch 1. They did this in Overwatch 1. They're renaming it, but they did it in Overwatch 1.
Groups with a similar shape as yours. So if you're a diamond tank and your friend is a bronze support, we'll try to find another wide group. So if you're a diamond player and you want to group with your bronze friend.
First launch Overwatch
concepts all like Overwatch 2.
Yesterday, and Daryl's team has created some amazing concept of that system.
Tank and bronze support for the other team, no problem. As you probably guessed, the existence of wide groups also means we'll have narrow groups. And this is great as a solo player because you'll...
Solo and groups. They named them different. You have solo, which is probably a single player and twos, and wide range, which are just groups. They're just groups. But they call them narrow and wide to distract you from the idea. Rebranding in psychology, guys, is a very popular topic because it allows you people to disassociate with things that already exist.
Groups or other solos. So we expect to see some big improvements to match quality for solo players.
So I mentioned this before. With the introduction to group queues, which was a thing earlier this year where you can group with your friends, right? Which did exist in Overwatch 1, by the way. I said that there's probably going to be an institution of just single queues. That's it. Not even twos anymore. Just single queues. I don't know if they are, because narrow groups could imply 1 or 2 people, or maybe even 3 people, right? Narrow and wide, or narrow and thick. They probably threw around thick in the dev room for a bit there. Thick groups insinuates that, the possibility is that narrow could actually be one player. But earlier this year when it came out, I said that they're probably going to toy around with the idea of just single queues, because when you group with someone, guys, it's one of the ways for top 500 players and GMs, it's one of the ways they have gamed the matchmaking system for close to a decade at this point. Overwatch has been out for a long time. It's been a thing since Overwatch 1, at the beginning of Overwatch 1. Because the matchmaker isn't always good at placing with people you are. There is the whole Zeitgeist, the whole narrative to groups and how well they function, the overview of groups and how they function compared to placing yourself with people that you don't know and you don't give two shits about, right? People are just more likely to interact, be accommodating, and of course know and understand how other people play, regardless of rank. Know and understand how people play, and then can work around them, compared to just randos that give. I'm just gonna next, man. I'm done with this game. I'm gonna next, man. I'm done. I'm nexting. Just next. GG next, guys. GG next. GG next. Shit like that. The whole Zeitgeist of groups are completely different in functionality compared to single players. And twos are enough to influence the game, because it's not just the matchmaker pulling people together. It is people that decide to group together and probably want to group together. That's why they're grouping in the first place. And it disrupts the matchmaker and basically allows people an easier time of getting through things, because you're going to always have a balanced match. It's balanced as far as you being able to disrupt the matchmaker, disrupt the skill level of people in the game, because you're going to have a one-up with people that you're already in there with, right? But anyways, earlier this year, they introduced group queues, which were in Overwatch 1. In Overwatch 1, you could queue with 3, 4, and 5 people. The reason they didn't do that is because group queues always went against group queues, and it made the game sweaty and unfun. So people stopped doing it. Because it became a sweat fest, and it made them hate their friends. So they stopped grouping in 3s, 4s, and 5s. They stopped doing it. It's kind of weird how short the memory is in the Overwatch community, but they stopped doing this because they hated it. You could group with people. It just was a bad experience. That's the same thing they're doing now. They're calling it wide queues. It's the same shit. You're going to be grouped against people that are other groups, and it's going to be a shit fest. But at the same time, it's wide queue, right? It's wide queue. You're gonna have a really fun time in there. It's basically the same thing as Overwatch 1. Same system as Overwatch 1, doing the same thing. It's just labeled slightly differently. And by the way, being a one single player in a 4-man queue was not fun in Overwatch 1. It was not remotely fun, which is why I think you should only be able to group in 5s, 3s, and 2s. You shouldn't be able to group as a 4-man. Reason for that is because there's just one odd fucker out that's going to get dogpiled by his teammates when he fucks up, or she fucks up. That's just the way it is. No one should actually have to fill that spot. That should just be, you can play a 4v5 if you want, but no one should have to fill that one spot, because it literally just leads to a dogpile scenario. At least with the 2 and the 3, you have 2 people that can argue against the 3 person, and there'll be people supporting each other. Another reason groups tend to work better is because there's always someone, when the finger pointing comes out, which it always does, especially when they see your ranks, or when you see ranks there, the finger pointing comes out. At least there's 2 fingers pointing back at 3 fingers, That gives you an advantage, and that's another psychology thing right there. And you can say all you want about people, being nice and whatever fucking shit, but it's all the same. It's the same shit, just in a different flavor. So, they're reintroducing the Overwatch 1 system is basically what this comes down to. People are hand clapping here. They just changed the name. All they did was change the name. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I assure you, every other reaction video to this, guys, was, oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this Overwatch 1 system that I completely forgot that they're re-adding to the game.
Because I used to play Overwatch with my kids, but they're teenagers and they just started getting better than me. And my oldest ended up becoming masters, and we couldn't even group together anymore. So now with this new system, he'll have to find another excuse to not play with me.
Literal skill issue. Another win is this gives us fewer Smurfs. Since the only way to avoid our current grouping restrictions right now to play with your friends is to create new accounts.
By the way, they can 100% nail down Smurfs. They can hardware ban, they can nail down Smurfs. If they can hardware ban, they can figure out if you're on an alternate account and basically ban you from comp play. Or ban you, quick play doesn't really matter that much. Ban you from comp play. It's not that hard. Blizzard could 100% do it. They don't do it, though, for some strange reason, just like they don't actually hardware ban. If you look at the cheat forums, there's conflicting information on whether or not there's hardware ban. There, people say you have to do specific things to get hardware ban. Hardware ban should just exist in the... It's another basic thing for anti-cheat. It's just hardware banning. And you don't. You have to do very specific things, apparently, to get banned multiple times to get finally hardware banned, which is absolutely fucking insane. But here we are. And by the way, they can use the same system. Not that you should get banned, like you can't play, but rather they just make it so they associate the 2 accounts together and you have the same MMR. That's basically the end of the story. Because you could say what you want about people playing on the same system or whether sharing computers. At the end of the day, the needs of the many, I'd say, outweigh the needs of the few in that case, and that's just the way that it is. And you could actually make it so these two accounts are very closely related to each other in MMR, and then define a personality of these accounts. If they play differently from each other in a different MMR, you could start separating the MMR. They start out the same, and then they slowly separate from each other depending on skill levels. So you can actually have two different accounts of functionality. They start out as basically Smurfs, and then they separate from each other. It's entirely possible. It could be what they're doing right now, but they could 100% stop people from smurfing if they wanted to.
But you won't need to do that anymore.
Cool.
Yeah, well, this is, I think they said this is 2024, so this is a ways out.
The competitive system, and you can't play comp without heroes. And I know we teased
Mauga,
heroes
the Heavy, the Heavy.
yesterday. And Daryl's team has created some amazing concept art to show for some of those heroes. Take it away.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Creating
Fuck is that?
such a visually unique and beautiful game like Overwatch 2 takes a lot of time and iteration.
Because you can't read it?
We went through some of these processes, from coming up with a hero idea, to drawing the concept art, to the modeling, then
Beat Sugar one.
then
Which I don't mind HFCS Mountain Dew.
We have a bunch of hero
But I also like the Beat Sugar.
always brewing. And during the opening
Yeah,
ceremony,
the
Aaron
8800
released
X3D.
two
So
of
it's
these
probably going to be
heroes
still a year and a half out.
Next year, we'll be releasing 3 new heroes.
Unless they release it at the beginning.
Support and a damage hero. Internally, we are already testing all 3 of these heroes in their various states.
And more. We're testing more heroes.
And more. And more.
Hey, look, the award-winning strategy of basically every service game out there is having heroes and weapons.
Just yet. The hero
Not
coding
PvE.
is far enough that we're gonna keep that work
Plus, the game's
going.
based around PvE.
I have to stress that a lot can still change this far out, including abilities and even their in-game models. But here is what we can show you. In Season 12, the next support hero will be released. Currently known on the development team by the codename Space Ranger. She will be our first hero for the Mars colony.
She's so cute. I love her so much.
Thanks, Monica.
Can't wait for the Rule of 34.
We're not quite ready to show her in action just yet, but we do have some early...
I already see the tentacle arms coming out, guys.
Yeah. I won't dive into her kit either, but she's a highly mobile support hero who has quite a bit of vertical mobility. To that end, she has no lack of thrusters on her suits.
So, a flying hero?
And
That's
when
gonna
we
fly
see
better than
things
Farah?
are still changing, Space Ranger is a perfect example. Her gun has already changed from what we're showing here. Not only that, but as production moves along, we will inevitably run into other elements on her design we will have to iterate on. When we fully reveal her for Season 12, we can talk about all the changes we made to her from the early drawings that you guys see over here to the final model and the final concepts. So, Space Ranger likes battling her foes from air and space. How about a hero now that battles from under the ground?
He doesn't.
Season 10, you'll get to play as
I've seen some of the footage. It's fucking weird, guys. So, or she, they, I guess technically she's a they. Is it non-binary hero?
Canadian hero.
They burrow underground. They burrow underground, and that's it. Like, you think it'd be something like a lurker, right? Like a lurker in StarCraft or something where they attack from underground, or, you know, pop out and throw people up in the air. It just looks like another movement ability. I looked at them, and they just burrow underground and move around, and that's it. And they're basically invulnerable. Like in StarCraft, you can have lurkers that burrow underground. They become immobile, and then they can attack, right? And do things from underground, where have different elements. They just have a mechanic in which they just are underground and invulnerable. And like Heroes of the Storm, even like another Blizzard game, Heroes of the Storm so far ahead of its time, guys. Like there's Dahaka, which goes underground to heal, and then he pops up, and then he can start attacking. He's a pretty cool tank. A lot of really cool heroes in Heroes of the Storm. He pops up and he knocks people back, or can knock people back, and then he does like a damage aura around him, and he walks around and eats damage, and then goes underground basically to heal up using the mechanic. But in the case of them, whatever hero this is, they just burrow underground and move around, and they're invulnerable. It literally just looks like another movement ability. So Not too thrilled about that. Like, it's weird because there are all these games out there, guys. And by the way, MOBAs copy from each other, like, all over the place. You know, obviously, they all come out with new things that are unique and different. But at the end of the day, they just, like, they copy a lot of the shit from each other, and a lot of heroes share similar abilities and stuff. But in Overwatch, we still have problems with them being original, like doing things or even copying other MOBAs that have good qualities to them, like, you know, something you can do with a character and make it pretty cool, like Dahaka or a Lurker, right? And build mechanics around the whole idea of being underground. They just don't do it.
People often forget that Farah is half Canadian, myself included.
I'm half Canadian too.
Did roll kill change a year ago end up being bad? No, it's in general is better for the game. You could make a case, and I did at the time, make a case for roll queue actually kind of ruining part of Overwatch, which is the unique aspect where you can play multiple different roles at the same time in order to achieve a better result, right? To counter or have counterplay that's better. At the end of the day, you could make a case for that, but they got rid of it because of the toxicity associated with roll queue or non-roll queue, which is just people complaining about what characters people are playing or who should play certain characters, right? So roll queue in general is probably overall just better for the game, even if you don't like the idea.
For past treasures and hidden secrets, and will go any which way to get to them. And for Venture, that way is often down. Venture uses their powerful drill to dig through the map to attack the opposing team. Because this drill was so,
they don't attack.
In its moving pieces, right? And has a lot of syllogical geometry.
From what I've seen from the footage on Twitter, Venture doesn't attack at all.
Even for the weapon. And now I'll toss it over to Aaron to show you guys some of how.
And for the roll 34 on this one too, guys.
We have some early gameplay footage of Venture from a recent playtest.
So, work in progress, guys.
We always do those kind of like silly little portraits.
It's basically the same shit though. It's not like Dahaka at all. Goes underground.
Burrowing underground is kind of amazing, so they can like burst up out of the ground, do additional damage, has vertical mobility to it.
There's a little bit of a pop-up.
Really well. This weapon is amazing. It shoots a projectile out a set distance and it explodes right there. It's like it's
Black
really
gun.
nice to be able to hit people even around corners with
Or like
it,
Sigma's
when they
weapons.
duck out of the way. The dig also, it's like the most important part of this is it makes you invulnerable, you know? So it's like you can't be hit when you're underground. It's a great way to escape. It's also a great way to get in close to players. You pop up like that, and then you have a dash as well. And so the dash, you can do it in the air. You can dash underground if you want to when you're moving. It's all around just like a really, really fun.
Definitely should have built more around the mechanic.
This idea or this goal that we
in the case of StarCraft or in Heroes of Storm, when you're underground, you move slower even though you're invulnerable. Lurkers aren't though in StarCraft, obviously, if you have an observer or whatever.
And just kind of have like some joy there. And Venture, I think, is one of those.
I don't have anything wrong with, I don't like have a problem with a character that moves underground, but rather build more around to make the character more unique and different than what they are.
To expand on that point,
Than just another movement ability.
I also literally, just keep hitting, the button, to borrow in and out, without any.
But basically, it's just Alari's movement ability, so you can knock people back after you pop up.
Big shout out to our animation and FX team to make this happen.
Yep.
So this felt good.
Now we didn't show the ult. We're holding that till season 10 until we fully reveal the hero.
So we figured how.
These are just some of the things that the team is working on. There's so much more. Next year, we'll like have a lot more things to talk to you about, a lot more things to reveal than we could have just fit here within 45 minutes.
I want to say that improving the overall play experience is really important to us. And this
Yeah. Their ass was about to be canned earlier this year. I guarantee you, whatever email was circulated around the company after the cancellation of PvE, definitely, yeah, you can see the above face. There's so many different, like the community summit that didn't exist that they reinstituted. The Twitter consensus nerfs that they're making, they're retooling to actually focus on the PvP element of the game, which is literally the whole reason for Overwatch that it exists. New characters constantly being released, yeah. Yeah, like stuff that actually matters. They got a very strongly worded email. Very, very strongly worded email, my guess is. Yeah, well, putting aside the layoffs, they were not putting a good foot forward earlier this year. That's like, I mean, even prior to that, with the launch of Overwatch 2, they just introduced push and a couple characters that apparently they had to, like, the amount of characters per year for 3 years was basically 0, and then they introduced 3 characters at the beginning of Overwatch 2. Come on. Like, they should have at least 9 by then, I think. So the way it works for League of Legends, I think they try to target like 3 to 4 new characters per year, and one of the characters they put a lot of effort into. Like, there's different tiers in terms of quality that they do, and like it really shows. Like, League of Legends is a very popular game, right? Fortnite just constantly releases new weapons and new things that they add to their game to make it different and interesting and unique, because they need to. It's a service. It's not a game where they release one version of the game and then they're done with it. They charge people money over time in the case of microtransactions, right? It's not just, oh, I paid $70 and this game's dead in 2 years. This game's been around for a while. And despite what people say on Twitter about fucking Blizzard should have free skins and shit, yeah, no, they shouldn't. They should be a service, and they need to get paid. That's the way it is. And you can choose whether or not you pay for the skins. You don't need the skins. And the entitlements surrounding skins, I also do not agree with. I don't understand that at all. But you can play the default model and not pay a dime, and that's your prerogative, right? But yeah, they got a very strongly worded email earlier this year.
But also how everyone engages with the game's meta systems. So one last thing I want to mention that I know people are...
And by the way, what a failure PvE is in the game can be witnessed by you trying to queue up for PvE and see how long it takes you to get a queue for it. It takes forever, and usually you're just paired with bots. Yeah. I went back a week after PvE launched because I wanted to finish some of the stuff, and all I got was bots in my queue. Yeah, a week later, all I had was bots in my queue, and that's not where you want to be. Not it. I ended up playing it on a lower difficulty mode because it's just like there's no way to play with bots and actually have a decent team. Like one other player and then 2 bots.
An initiative we're working on for next year is a redesign of the Battle Pass. And we're deep in the process of working through this, which means we aren't ready yet to go through the details. But I want to give you a small glimpse.
I don't really have a problem with their Battle Pass right now.
One goal...
People just want free things. They just want free things. They just want free things, guys. It's the way the world works.
Let me talk through a couple of specific...
Wanted free things when they advocated to get rid of loot chests. And then they got rid of loot chests and they realized they had to pay more money. And all of a sudden they want loot chests back. Despite the fact that they got rid of loot chests and everyone's bitching up a storm back in like 2018. Bitching up a storm about the kids, saving the kids from gambling. And now they want them back.
Different case, you missed the chance to get Cyber Demon Genji because you weren't around to play that first season. What we want to do is...
I have no problems, by the way, for them reselling skins that were on the Battle Pass, if that's what he's going to suggest.
To earn any single mythic skin we've ever released when
There you go.
through the premium Battle Pass.
Just later.
But beyond this, we're aiming to make play in Overwatch 2 more rewarding with a total set of changes to the Battle Pass. We'll have more to share on that next year.
As they should. Part of that is because, you know, even if you wanted to pay for the Battle Pass, you can at a later date. Or they could just make it so, like, if you subscribe to the Battle Pass, the current one, you can earn Battle Pass levels from earlier generations. That's also if you can finish the Battle Pass from earlier generations. And you can tab through it as long as you have an active Battle Pass for the current season. That'd be maybe even be a better system, or you could directly purchase the skins. Very easy to figure that out. I don't know why it's years out. Like, what is the internal, like, in companies like this, guys, what is the internal struggle with figuring out the Battle Pass system and making it work? Like, how does their day-to-day life work where they have to spend 8 months mulling over how to change the Battle Pass to be more accessible? I literally just described it to you guys in, 10 minutes? Like, things that they could do to change it, and they could pick any one of the ideas and then just do it. Like, why do they need to spend 8 months from now in order to actually make the Battle Pass work? Like, there's tons of people here. Like, is this like job security? It's like they're like doing too much too soon, and then all of a sudden, like, they're gonna not have anything to do. Like, what the fuck is that? Why can't they do it now? Like, it's easy as shit. Even for a coding aspect, it's easy as shit.
On what we're developing, planning, or even thinking about.
And then if it doesn't work, you change it again. Like I said, remember how we were talking about Epic having really agile development? If it doesn't work, you change it. You don't fucking sit there and obsess about doing it wrong, do it wrong, and then not change it. You do it, and then if it doesn't work, you change it again.
And we can't wait to release it all. Thank you, Blizzcon.
I think so. It might just be they move slow for job security. But the way it works with development, guys, is just you do something and it works or it doesn't work. And if it does work, then you just move on to something else. There's always something new you can work on, and Fortnite is an example of just that. You just keep moving forward. You just keep moving on to the next thing. Are they really worried about, like, what are we going to think about next if we aren't thinking about the battle pass for the next 8 months? What are we going to do to rationalize ourselves to HR or something like that? What is the rationale there?
Amazing people, and this is just
they could do it right now. They could do it this season. They could do it next season.
And even a glimpse
Hammer that shit out. Done. Next issue.
Like an image of a Peru map. That's
hey James, good morning, dude.
We also started this presentation off with, and there was, I'm sure people will talk about it online in the next few days, some other Easter eggs in this presentation that kind of give hints at some of the things that are coming next year as well. So thank you everyone so much, and we'll see you on the streets of Hanaoka.
Like, to this day, it still does not make sense what they did for 3 years between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2. And then until PvE was released, and then they released the dumpster fire that was PvE in Overwatch 1, or Overwatch 2, excuse me. I don't know. This reminds me like Twitter times. So prior to Musk buying out Twitter, they had like 8,000 employees, and he whittled out like 80% of them. He fired 80% of them, and they're getting more work done now. Like, they're actually more productive, and I assume make the same amount of money, but he weeded like 80% of the company out. And obviously he probably got some people that shouldn't have been fired with that purge, but what do they do? Like all these guys up here, they're nicely dressed, and they look like they look like they put their fancy new shirt on, their new sneakers on here. They're like looking like hipsters straight out of California shit. Like, except for this guy. This looks like a guy that gets shit done. He might not look the best on stage, but he has more important things to worry about than buying his brand new shirt and ironing it and making sure all of his apparel is nice and neatly ironed out. Not that it really takes that much time to do it, but there's more important things on this guy's mind other than trying to look good in front of other people. And like, is this just the majority of Overwatch staff? Is they're just trying to look good? Like, what is this? What is PvE took almost 4 years, and it just was, no one plays it. It's terrible. It is absolutely fucking terrible. I don't know. And yeah, Keller led him down this path. You can say what you want about Jeff, but Jeff was there when Titan was canned, and then was there all through Overwatch 1, and then a little bit into the Overwatch 2 development cycle. Overwatch 2 development cycle, he left, and then like a year and a half later, they were still doing the same stuff, and they released nothing. So I don't know. I really don't know. This is fucking weird. Maybe this is modern day companies. I don't work at Blizzard, but this kind of strikes me this way.
On the streets of Hanaoka.
Yeah. Or League. League has a very aggressive development cycle. They're probably a staple of what I call video game development 2.0. They call it video games as service. There's a lot of different names for it. Basically continued development after the game release, right? Where they're constantly just trying to improve things and make it better. Some interesting bits here, guys. So the rank change, I don't think they're really changing anything with rank. They're just making the system more transparent. Rather, so this is going into the Overwatch World Cup, which we are not watching. I was only interested in the development panel. Yeah, not interested in Overwatch World Cup. You can get other casters to jerk you off on that one. But basically, like, I'm very certain there's already a weighted system in that. I've talked about that, and I've tweeted about it, because people rank up off a loss streak, and they rank down off a win streak. So that means that the rules are not there where wins and only losses matter. So, yeah, you know, like, kind of a little bit weird going on here. And the weighted system was at the bottom there, what they call modifiers or whatever at the bottom. It's weighted. It's telling you the system itself is weighted, and it's always been weighted in Overwatch 2. That's why they have obfuscated rank. They're just showing you now the little minutia as it changes, but they're still hiding the fact that of how, not completely, but they're trying to hide the fact that it's weighted. And regardless of what they said, yeah. I don't know. Very weird, and once again with underground them, like they could have done it better. You can look at Dahaka from Heroes of the Storm. You could look at lurkers in StarCraft. There are other. I'm sure that I'm not familiar with League of Legends heroes anymore because I stopped playing it probably 4 years ago. But there's other heroes and probably some in Dota where you can go underground. You can do things from underground. Like there's a mechanic to being underground. It's not just invulnerable. Oh look, I popped out, and that's it. Like, you know, there could be more to it. Like you could heal. Like they gutted like some of the more interesting characters. Symmetra was gutted. Torbjorn was gutted. Right? He used to be a builder. Symmetra used to be a builder too, and they got gutted because they had to be more in line with being DPS, which is a shame. The homogenization where you make everything into a hit scan. You just make everything into a bullet stick, a stat stick, where they just pull the trigger on something and it spits out a certain number of DPS, and that's it, right? They tried to homogenize them and turn them into the same thing. It's good to have unique and different characters. Heroes of the Storm is one of the reasons I like the game, and I played so much of it. I haven't recently, but I played so much of Heroes of the Storm, is because there's fucking unique and interesting characters in a MOBA, right? They aren't all the same. They aren't just auto attack characters, as they call them. So just people that just right click and bait 80 carries, as they're called in other games, where you just right click constantly, right? It's just all right click. Very, very boring characters. There's a lot of abilities and interactions between characters and synergies, and it's really important. You can have basic bitch characters like McCree and Soldier and Ashe in Overwatch. Sure you can, but you also should have really unique characters. When I left Overwatch 1, there was the mentality, it's basically when Doomfist was released, there's a mentality of, oh, we shouldn't have these MOBA characters in our video game. You know, everyone wants to fucking play Kovacs and literally just sit there on their Adderall trip and click a pixel, and then they think they should win. Games have more involved with them than just clicking a pixel. And any game in which you, like, go play Counter-Strike if you want to click a pixel and win. Like, that's not it. And, like, Overwatch is supposed to be more in-depth and more interesting rather than clicking pixels. And after Doomfist was released, and for some strange reason people couldn't help walking down a hallway into a really loud grunting man and getting one shot and going, oh, it's Doomfist, guys. Oh, he just one-shot me again. Doomfist is so fucking lame. You can hear him grunting like from a mile away. It still blew my mind. You could literally hear him in the hallway going, you know, and the guy walks, what's over there, you know, and you saw on his Adderall trip, his eyes are fucking saucers. I have to go around the corner to see what it is, guys. And he looks around the corner and he's like, oh, it's Doomfist, and he dies. You know, yeah, like a little bit of forethought, you know, common sense should be rewarded in the game. And Doomfist, I honestly think, needs a damage buff. He needs to actually one-punch people again. If you get set up for a one-punch, you probably should die. That's just the way it goes. And you can bitch all you want about Doomfist killing you, but right now he's a very, very anemic tank. He does, like, no damage. He just goes in, he jumps in, he punches people, and then he holds his block, and then he jumps out. And that's basically Doomfist's life right there. And it's honestly kind of sad. And even when he ults, it's not really that big of a deal. The only time I've really been threatened by, like, Doomfist is, like, occasionally you get one that knows how to combo really well, and maybe he can combo you with all of his abilities and kill you, like, instantly. It is very, like, with the charged gauntlet, it is very rare. He's not one of the better tanks in the game right now. But, yeah, like after Doomfist was released, all the fucking esports players were all like, man, I really, which one? Why are there, like, MOBAs? Why do they have so many abilities, man? I'm not here to play MOBA. If I want to play a MOBA, I'd play LoL. Yeah, but if you wanted to play Kovacs, you'd be playing Counter-Strike or now Valorant, right? Which is kind of a MOBA, but not really like Overwatch is. Overwatch has a lot of MOBA elements in it, and that's the way it should be. And it's a shame that a lot of the unique things that the game could be, they're afraid to do because they don't want to offend the esports Kovacs players. And that's really stupid. You should not be catering to that niche. You should be catering to what the game could be. And people will say what they want about it, what they want it to be. But generally, almost every single person that plays Overwatch and talks about development, almost every single one, wants the game to be overpowered in their favor. They want their character, their role, to be the most OP piece of shit ever existing. When people are like, yeah, man, healers are so much fun to play right now, the reason they're saying that is because they're fucking god tier. Because they can heal, they can do damage, they have utility, they have an answer for everything if you play the best healers, like Alari, or Anna is probably one of the OGs that instituted that in the first place, who has an answer to a lot of different things. Or Baptiste, who basically can win a 1v1 no matter what, which is not where healers should be. Baptiste, or Kiriko, who can literally just sit there and try to throw for headshots, and she either headshots you and you die, or she teleports out. And yeah, and then Sombra, they just turned into another soldier. They just turned her into a generic DPS, where she used to have a nesting phase, where she'd kind of make a little base, she'd hack a medkit, throw down her teleport, right? And then she'd go into harass, she teleports out. Instead of going through the attacking the nesting phase, which is when she teleports out, you can't find her. Instead of attacking the the Kovacs is an aim trainer. By the way, I think there's absolutely no purpose in playing aim trainers in any way, shape, or form. You just play the game. The aim training is the game because it cannot prepare you for the game. And then if you have problems with getting into combat, like Counter-Strike has a lot of downtime between combat, you play the deathmatch. That's it. Aim trainers are absolutely worthless. But anyways, Kovacs is an aim trainer that's popular with the kids, and honestly, like I said, I don't think aim trainers are remotely good at what they do. They try to get you into their business model, whatever it is, and milk you for money and try to be relevant. That's it. It's not a way to get good at video games. Don't play aim trainers. Play the game that you want to get good at. And if you have problems with it, League of Legends, for instance, battles are very few and far between. I don't know if League of Legends has a deathmatch mode. Play Irem. All random, all mid. Play Irem, and you'll have a lot of battles. So you just up the number of battles. Obviously, it doesn't teach you all the base core mechanics that you need to learn. An aim trainer's not going to teach that to you anyways. But it'll teach you the battles, and then you just play the normal game to get the rest of the game into it. Do not play aim trainers. Aim trainers are dumb. Kovacs, though. But yeah, like, oh my god, I lost my train of thought here, guys. What was I thinking about before Kovacs? You interrupted me in the middle of my thought. In the middle of my thought, we can cheat. We can cheat. I need to cheat. MOBA heroes, yeah, MOBAs, they should actually go more with, I think I was on a tangent talking about MOBA heroes. But at the end of the day, like, they should have heroes that are differentiated, unique, and cool. Heroes of the Storm has Dahaka that can burrow underground. He eats damage as basically like a dot on him. Then he burrows underground, and he can regen health over time underground. So he eats damage and tanks it, like he tanks up a gauge, and then he burrows underground and he heals over time. Well, actually, he doesn't tank it. Chen tanks damage, where he basically eats damage into the future, and then he repairs himself or heals himself after the fact through shielding. And there's a lot of really, really cool characters in Heroes of the Storm. Really cool. They even have, like, prior to neutering Deathwing was in the game, and he was pretty fucking strong at first, and then everyone complained and got him turned into a shit hero. He's just a big punching bag. But yeah, like, yeah, though they want to that's where we were. They're trying to homogenize the game into Kovacs. They just want to click a pixel and win. You know, Widowmaker. They just want to click a pixel and win, and that's it. Do not listen to those players. They are literally cardboard cutouts with zero personality that just want to be the best at what they're doing. You want to make something unique, different. Like, it's weird because we're talking about another Blizzard franchise. We're talking about Heroes of the Storm, which is a great game, by the way. It is nothing. Well, it's not. It's a MOBA. But it is very different from League of Legends or from Dota. If you've never played it, I term it MOBA 2.0 because it takes all the shit out of Dota and League of Legends, all the problems with MOBAs, which is, you know, item building, getting trapped in item builds that are terrible and not knowing why, and not knowing the intricate background of item building, or not farming CS, which I find extremely boring. Not farming CS. You still have to farm CS by getting experience, and they changed it where now you get globes, so you can go to lane and farm them even over time later on, but your entire team ends up in the same playing field. They limited basically your ability to fudge the game and fuck up your team, and made it so it's more team-oriented. It's all team battles all the time. It's engaging in team battles, fighting for objective play. And it makes it a lot of fun, in my opinion. But there's a fucking siege tank. Hammer is in Hammer is in Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, Hammer. And they still have Zarya. They still have Overwatch characters. They could literally reverse... They could reverse pick up characters from Overwatch. So they could pick up characters that are in Overwatch and bring... Or, in Heroes of the Storm and bring them to Overwatch. Where they have crossovers where Heroes of the Storm pulled characters from other franchises like Diablo, StarCraft, Overwatch. But they also had unique characters. I think they were just called Nexus characters. Like Orphea, which is pretty cool. And... affirmative action character. Kira, I think her name is. Which is actually a pretty cool character based around bleed damage, right? Was based around bleed damage. They neutered her too. And Deathwing, although that's from World of Warcraft. You have to look him up now. It's been a while since I played Heroes of the Storm. Mainly my time's been capitalized by either making my stream longer or I had to play Overwatch off stream. A lot of them, though. Better page. Yep, the Lost Vikings are in the game. The Lost fucking Vikings are in the game. Which is 3 characters you control as a single person, which most Lost Vikings, I don't know where they are now, but most Lost Vikings are pretty bad. Kirazim, very cool hero. You go into melee and you punch people, kind of like what Bridget does, only not also a tank, and he jumps around the battlefield. So I think it's Chen in League of Legends that does stuff like he's a healer in League of Legends. Lieutenant Morals, who's a fucking literal heal bot, kind of like Mercy, but better in my opinion. Let's see. Yeah, probably not likely. The game's basically on a back burner right now after the staff got laid off. Or not laid off, they got transferred to other projects. The Lost Vikings. Yeah. But there's all Probius. You can literally play a probe in Heroes of the Storm and build like turrets and stuff. Yeah. They never really ironed him out. He was a pretty cool character, but they never really ironed him out. A lot of these characters have unique playstyles and just play differently from each other. Like Mephisto, where you go in and you try to get people in like a little damage ring around you to do damage to them, and then you teleport out. You know, but a very fragile hero, so if people focus on when he shows up, he can generally get exploded. But then there's also things that help deal with it. A lot of really Kira, there you go. A lot of really cool characters. Basically, she's a melee character that goes in next to people and applies bleeds to them. She can basically use a grappling hook to get near people and then apply bleeds to them and grappling out if she can, or use her ultimate or whatever. Apply bleeds and manage the bleeds and healing over time effect that she can, or healing effect that she can manage through the bleeds. Very cool character. She got neutered though. They turned her into a generic AD carry. Yeah, there's a lot of options, a lot of different things. Ragnaros can turn into a fort. He can turn into a defensive structure with his cooldowns. He has a lava wave that goes through and basically cleans up CS in a lane, like every 4 minutes or something like that. A lot of really cool characters. Zool can resurrect. He makes skeletons, yeah, out of mobs, and you can make a skeleton wave sort of with characters. Pretty cool shit. Variant can be either a DPS or a tank, and can play DPS in 2 different ways. Very cool characters. Not all of them are completely unique, but almost all of them have a unique differentiation. And also, by the way, some of the best models that are not just politically correct are in Heroes of the Storm. So if we go... who's Ural? Ural's a good one too, but Alex Straza. Let's go. Heroes of the Storm, Alex Straza. You know what she looks like in World of Warcraft, guys? Let's make sure no porn pops up here. Like quite a few curves. Very curvy in Heroes of the Storm. And in World of Warcraft, not really the case at all. Like very curvy. Go World of Warcraft. Instead, make sure there's no porn. Looks like a cat person in World of Warcraft. I was kind of disappointed with that. Like that. She looks like kind of like a blood elf. No, almost no curves. Almost nothing going on there. Best examples of models are probably from Heroes of the Storm. In my personal opinion, of all Blizzard's franchises, they definitely they took a little bit of creative freedom with them, and I think it honestly looked a lot better. Like they worked out better. Like she has like a cat, looks like a cat person. Anyways, lot of examples, a lot of different things they could possibly do in Heroes of the Storm. They just never really, or in Overwatch, they never really did it. There's a lot of things. You don't need to look that far. There's plenty of things you can do in Overwatch and make the game good. Doomfist, I think, should still be able to one-punch people. They need to bring that back as a tank, especially because he is the one. He is the one on the team. They need to bring back like his ability to one-punch people, and obviously add criteria to it, not just out of nowhere. Add criteria out of it, like when he powers up his gauntlet, make it a little shiny so people know he can fuck them in the ass, and give him his one punch back. So he does like 200 HP with one punch or something along those lines. A lot of opportunities they could potentially do for them. They don't. They're like, oh no, he's not playing Kovacs, guys. He can't fucking shoot someone from a platform with his hit scan rifle multiple times and kill them. Oh no, he's unbalanced. Yeah. Maybe just give people like little things that make them happy, things that make the characters unique and different, even if they're not always completely balanced in and of themselves. They don't need to be. But we'll see where it goes. At least they're on better track than earlier this year. I have absolutely no idea what Overwatch was doing earlier this year. It was absolutely on the wrong path, and still kind of is. They're still doing like the hero mastery shit. Yeah, that's not where the game should be. I don't know whoever thought that up. That was a bad idea. Maybe if they have a bigger studio, they can put a small little team on that and they can do whatever. But at the end of the day, they should be focusing on new characters, new game modes. Skins pay the bills, right? It doesn't matter whether or not people don't buy them. Just pump out the skins. And the new skins for the crossover, despite the crossover feeling kind of gimmicky, guys, the new skins were great. The new skins for the crossover look really good. Let's see. What is it? Lace, FM, Overwatch, crossover, skins. Show them. They kind of do. Website's caked with shit. But like the skins were actually pretty well done. And then they added like a what is it called? Transferal emote or something where you can basically sync up your emotes with someone else, dancing emotes with someone else, I'm pretty sure. Which makes it kind of neat and cool, even if you're just going to do it in spawn. People like shit like that, right? People like shit like that. But the skins are all pretty well done. Yeah, like, I don't know what they were doing for like the last 4 years, 3 years. Yeah. They must have got a strongly worded letter. Anyways, that's good. That's a good podcast, guys. I think it's been a while since I've done one of these. We're going to,